Hello everyone, Matt from Model Minutes here and welcome back to the workbench for another unboxing. Today I'm taking a look at this, the Tamiya Douglas F4D-1 Skyray in 1/72 scale. So join me as I get stuck inside the box and see what this one is like. People are always suggesting that I should try out some more Tamiya kits, and I kind of picked this one up because I needed to push my shipping up when I was buying painting supplies just to get free shipping. It made sense to buy something and get free shipping rather than paying for shipping. So this is what I picked. It's an interesting looking aircraft. I like that they've got a built example on the box. It's a little bit different to some other companies. It gives you like an impression of what could be achieved from the kit, something to aim for, a little bit of inspiration. Up here it tells us that this is number 41 in the range, 1/72 scale warbird collection, and we've got some dimensions. We have some information about what's included in the kit, but it does say, you know, it may vary, but I don't think it actually will because Tamiya generally have what's on the box in the box. We have nothing on the back of the box, so we'll flip to the thin edges. We have some images here of the completed aircraft with some of the highlighted details, and then a selection of paints which you might want to go and get from the Tamiya range to complete this one. This particular boxing was made in the Philippines, and you can see we've got a contact address for Tamiya. Flipping over to the other edge, we again have some more images of the aircraft in a completed state, and then we have a copyright date up here of 1998. Take copyright dates on boxes with a pinch of salt. It doesn't necessarily mean that's when this tooling dates from or that's when this was manufactured, but actually in this case, with a good level of certainty, I am pretty sure that 1998 is the tooling date for this particular kit. The thin edges here feature the same information that we have already seen. We do have a little bit more information about the item code though, which is 60741. So there's a few extra numbers and both sides are the same. So we're going to get the box open. So we do have a tech tips leaflet, a few hints and tips on how to complete your model if you're new to it, which I think is nice. It's just an extra bit of value, gives you a bit of extra information. It doesn't really cost them anything to include it, but it just gives, if you're like new to the hobby, then you're going to get a bit of extra hints and tips before you begin. The main instructions though are printed in black and white, which is a bit disappointing. You know, it would be nice to have them printed in color because it just helps things be less ambiguous. It means that you're going to see things a little bit clearly, but you know, if we're going back to the 90s, this is sort of a little bit of the product of the time. Opening up, you can see, oh wow, it's one of these just keeps extending on forever. So I'm going to try my best to get this in frame. Paint, color call out, read the informations, different tools. Let's get into the construction stages. So paint, color call outs are mentioned on the stages as well as the part number. You can see that we assemble our pilot seat and our cockpit components. There is a decal for the control panel. We install that inside of our cockpit. It does tell us to add 5 grams of weight down here inside of the nose so we don't tail sit. So I'll just flood that with weight so that I have not got a tail sitter. I'm like well known, I think, for having tail sitting aircraft and having to install them on display bases because I keep messing that up. At this point here, there are a few little bits and pieces that need to have a little bit removed. I think they're just mold pips. That gets installed in there. Engine intake. There are holes if you want to include your drop tanks that need to be drilled out, which I probably will. I'll just include everything. Upper and lower wing surfaces are joined together. Some internal landing gear bay components are here. We then add our air intakes and our nose of our fuselage together. Then we add our engine exhaust and the tail wheel and tail hook. I think the sort of little tail wheel here was purely just to stop the aircraft from striking the tail on takeoff and landing. It doesn't actually, it's not supposed to like sit on that. It's meant to sit on the main tricycle undercarriage. So we have our main landing gear here, which gets assembled, and our nose gear, which gets built up as well. And then you can see that these get installed into their relevant gear bays. We do have gear covers. It doesn't indicate that we can install them in a closed position. However, I think with a small amount of modification that would be possible. You just glue them in place. Same with the tail wheel. I think, imagine if you just cut that and sort of folded it down, it would fit in a closed position. But it's not giving us that option natively designed into the kit. Canopy gets installed. Here they're telling you to install it in the closed position, but again, I imagine it might be possible to display it open, but I would have to, if I was going to do that, I'd have to look up what it actually looks like. It is possible that it might not be positionable in an open position. We have tail surfaces, we have our underwing stores, we've got drop tanks. Not sure what this is, perhaps like a firebomb, rockets, and our AIM-9 sidewinders, which all get installed on their various pylons. I'll probably just install all of them. And then we have painting instructions, which unfortunately are in black and white, which means that it could be a little bit complicated to get the right colours. I believe that we have a white for the control surfaces, a light grey for the upper surface, and I think lower surfaces are white, and then everything is kind of done with decals after that, apart from the nose. But our two paint schemes, we have, actually I think it's technically 3 paint schemes. Yeah, technically we have 3 paint schemes. We have this one here with 17 on the nose, and this one's got all like our stars and things. I think that's the one on the box. Yeah, that's the one on the box. So that's probably the one I'll do because it looks a little bit more visually interesting. But we do also have another one which is a bit more plain, and then we have another one after that which is basically going to be the same. It's just going to have slightly different tail numbers and things, so you'll have to keep an eye out for that. But they haven't been as thorough with this paint scheme as they have been with the other ones. Of course, some of these are in Japanese, so I would have to get my translation app out, I think, just to make sure. But I think they have translated most of it here as well. And there is a research note up here to give you further context. Oh no, hang on, turn over the page, take it back. Well done, Tamiya. They have given you more on this one. It's just on the very last page, which is good. So I take back what I said about them not including the extra bits of information, because they have, so well done. Decal application instructions are here, and that's pretty much it. So instructions look to be fairly straightforward. Bit disappointing they're not in colour, because I think that would help. But it's, you know, if it's a product from the 90s, I don't think this was made in the 90s, but it's something that they've just had in continual production. So it is almost like it's dating itself a little bit. That brings us on to the decals. Decals come in their own separate bag, which is stapled. Let's open that up. Just keeps them nice and safe. And also it can help with preventing them from oxidizing. So we have quite a lot of decals. So these are for the first paint scheme by the looks of it. Some of these are for the other paint schemes. They are printed to a nice quality. The text is legible. Control panel down here, that looks okay. See, the thing with Tamiya decals is they always look nice. They always seem to be nicely printed. The problem I've had with them in the past is that they're very thick. There is a slight crease actually in my sheet, but I don't think that will cause a problem. But yeah, they are quite thick, so if the light catches them just right, you can see that they do stand a little bit proud off the paper. And when I built my Mustang, I found that they just didn't want to like conform to the surface details, which was a bit of a shame. I have bought some different setting solutions since, so I will see how they perform. It's just getting them to settle into the surface details, which is the struggle, because they are quite thick. But no, printing on the whole looks good. I just hope that my setting solutions I bought will do something with them, but we'll have to see. So yeah, decals. That then brings us on to our plastic parts, which come in 2 bags. We'll look at the clear parts first, which come in this bag here. It is stapled, so you don't need to use scissors to get it opened. So clear parts, they come on their own little sprue. There's only 2 of them, which are for our front windscreen and our main canopy. There is a hint of flash in a few places, which will need cleaning up. Framework isn't massively proud, so masking that will be a little bit tricky, just to get your knife to run around the edges neatly. It might be worth looking for a aftermarket canopy masking set, because that's not very easy to follow. They're very subtle. Molding is nice, they're reasonably clear to look through, but yeah, just a little bit shallow on the framework, which might be scale accurate. It's just it's going to be a little bit trickier to mask, so I'll probably look for an aftermarket mask set if I can find one. Main plastic parts then, we have 2 olivey grey kind of sprues. So we'll look at this one first. This is sprue A. Plastic doesn't feel particularly greasy. It's got a little bit of flex to it, not too hard. Can't see anything really in the way of flash on there. You can see we've got our wing components and they are nicely reproduced. Panel lines are quite nice and subtle. We have some rivet detail in places, some protrusions as well for other details. I think there are actuators for our control surfaces. Yeah, it looks okay. Engine air intake, landing gear bays, air intakes here, landing gear parts, smaller details here, no flash on those. Upper wing surfaces, they look pretty good too. Tail surfaces here, again a little bit of riveting on there, which is nice. If we flip over, you can see on this side, ejector pins are here, so shouldn't be seen on visible surfaces. We do have our holes here to drill out for our underwing stores if we would like to include them, which I probably will. Looks good. Nicely reproduced, not much in the way of flash, like hardly any flash. Maybe the sprue gates are a little bit chunky, but with a little bit of careful sanding I should manage to clean them up. The next sprue, so this sprue should contain all our other components. So this is the back side with all of the ejector pin marks on. There are some ejector pin marks, I think, in some visible surfaces there, which are a little bit annoying on the back of the wheels as an example, and the gear bay parts. I probably won't do anything to clean them up. I'll just move on with my life. But yeah, I would have thought they would have not had them on there, but they are. There are some little ones on the legs as well. There don't seem to be any on the pylons, which is good. M9 sidewinders are there. Control panel has some detail on it, which is quite nice. But we had a decal for that as well, didn't we? Landing gear legs have some nice detail on them. Pilot seat, pylon, engine, exhaust has like some detail on the inside of there. And then the rest of our doors. If we flip over, there's no detail on the inside of the sort of cockpit, but we did have a cockpit tub kind of component over here, which has some little details molded into the side consoles. Pilot seat, are those the rudder pedals already built onto it? Interesting. No pilot. Tamiya does include pilots on some of their kits, they just haven't included one on this one. So no pilot, no raised landing gear option, but it looks all right. Looks okay. It looks like it'll be a fairly straightforward, not overly complicated build. Hopefully the painting isn't too complex either. It looks all right. I think I should do reasonably okay with this one. So let's wrap up. What did we have? We had two sort of light grey green plastic sprues molded to a nice quality, some ejector pin marks on a few areas which might need cleaning up, only a hint of flash, but for the most part very nicely molded, quite crisp. Clear canopy, nicely molded once again, hint of flash. Maybe the panel work is a little bit shallow. I might get an aftermarket mask set. Decals are nicely printed. The only thing that I have about them is that they are a bit thick and they may struggle to conform to the details, so we'll have to see how they go. And the instructions are printed to a good quality. They have a good level of detail. They would benefit from being printed in black and white. I know that more modern releases from Tamiya does have colour instructions, but I think they'll do for the sake of building the kit. All of that came contained within the box, which I think looks quite nice. It's got this image of the actual aircraft which you can build in one of the paint schemes, which just gives you something to aim for, and also a reference point as well if you're struggling to know how to paint a certain part. So talking about the age of this kit then, we saw the tooling date, well sorry, a copyright date on there of 1998. That is it. That's when this was originally released. That's when the tooling date's from, and this is all there ever has been. There's been no reboxes, there's been no other paint schemes. Tamiya kind of has this thing where it's like, if it's not broken, don't fix it. They just release it continuously in that single boxing forever. So from that point of view, if you wanted to do different versions of this one, you've got three in here. You've got three different paint schemes, which is good. However, if you built all three of those, then you're looking at aftermarkets to get different paint schemes, potentially, if there are any, because Tamiya haven't done any other versions of this. So how much would you be expecting to pay for this? Well, I've been on the, I think it's the German Tamiya website to get an RRP, which is about £12.56 at the time I'm editing this. So actually, this is pretty cheap. This is a pretty budget model for what we've seen here. 3 paint schemes, not exactly a small aircraft. You've got underwing stores, a nice level of detail, fairly crisp moulding, still reasonably up to modern standards. Looks like it should fit together quite well. I don't think that's a bad price. I don't think I paid that. I think I paid slightly less than that. But you know, if you're finding this for around 10, 11, 12 pounds, I don't think it's a bad option. My only reservation is those decals. I hope that my setting solutions that I bought will do something to soften them into the surface. But I think it should be a very interesting, stress-free project to complete. And it will give you a really interesting looking aircraft at the end of it. And with that, I think I'm going to wrap this one up here. Let me know what you thought of my unboxing review in the comments below, and if my assessment of this kit was fair. Don't forget that we do have a Model Minutes Model Club, and if you'd like to join the club and get exclusive access to early videos and other perks, check out the links below the video. Massive thanks to these Model Club members for helping me to create consistent content. There are other ways to help support the channel as well if you'd prefer, but the best way to support the channel for free is by subscribing with notifications turned on so you never miss a modelling upload. Finally though, last thing to say is a massive thank you to you for watching this one, and I'll see you on the workbench again next time.